I have a great reputation in show business, but in comedy, I'm what's known as a lazy comedian, which is crazy because I work all the time, but that's not why they call me lazy. They call me lazy because I do shows sometimes, 20,000 people be in the crowd, and I'll tell a joke, and they'll all look at me like I'm crazy, but 3 or 4 people will laugh really hard, and I'll be on stage like, yeah, that's good enough. Well, this next joke is one of those jokes that it's not, you know what I mean? I like to tell it, but it never does good. But I'm gonna do it. You know why it doesn't do good? I'm not good at impressions, but this is an impression. You ready? Okay. This is not gonna work. All right, this is my impression. It's my impression of the dead people on the Titanic. You didn't let me finish. This is my impression of the dead people on the Titanic as the submersible was approaching their ship. That's good enough. All right, here it goes. I'm gonna do it. Okay, here it goes. Join us in our watery grave. Oh, buddy, that's funny to me. Listen, that is a funny way to die. 20 years from now, on my 70th birthday, I'm gonna take a submersible to see the submersible. Hopefully by then it should work. My wife hates that joke. You know, do you know this strip club in D.C. called Camelot? Is that still open? Yes. Well, I know what I'm doing after the show. I gotta tell you, the other day my wife called me creepy. You know, I frequent strip clubs. I don't want, it's something I like to do. And my wife said I was creepy because I go to strip clubs by myself. Is that creepy? I think that's better than going with the fellas. That's creepy to me. Hey, y'all, let's all go to the strip club and get our dicks hard together as a group of friends. Drive home in a quiet car and not talk about any of the things we've seen or done. No, nigga, I go by myself. But my wife doesn't understand why I go to the strip club. It has nothing to do with sex, you understand? I need a pinch of sexual energy in a room to relax, but it's more about being out. I like the music. A few naked chicks in there, it just makes me feel good, but I'm not trying to socialize or meet anybody. You know, sometimes I go to the strip club and I bring a book. I do, and I sit right by the stage because the reading light is better. One time I went to a strip club, and this is weird. I don't know why. The stripper, for some reason, told me her real name. I know, so I left. She didn't understand. She was like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "Good night, Deborah." God bless her, but my wife is mistaken about my life. She told me once she thinks my job is fun. My job is a job. I'm fun. It's too dangerous, man. You know, all last year, I was touring with arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, living comedian, Chris Rock. Me and him toured all year last year. And right before that tour started, Chris was involved in what we blacks might even consider a goddamn 9/11. Chris got slapped in the face at the Oscars by Will Smith, which was one of the craziest things I'd ever seen. In fact, if you watch it live on television like I did, when it happened, I thought it was fake. I did, and I wasn't sure, so you know what I did? I waited, because I'm like you, I know Chris. I waited like 30, 40 minutes, as long as it would take him to get to another party. And I called him on FaceTime, and he picked up. As soon as he picked up, he said, "You was the only nigga I had to answer the phone for." Apparently, Obama and Oprah, everybody had called this nigga to see if everything was all right. And I thought it was fake. I didn't know. So I asked him, I go, well, you know. He said, "What?" I said, "Well, did it hurt?" And he said, "Yes, nigga, it hurt." And then I knew that it was real. And then, and only then, was I offended. And I wasn't just offended that he got slapped. That was only half of it. The real offensive part was that after they slapped him, this nigga Will just sat down and enjoyed the rest of his evening. It was crazy. It was just... The fuck is this? And then all year, we was touring, and I couldn't wait to see what he was going to say in his special about this slap. And I toured him all year, but the night he taped his special, Chris was one of these guys that's crafty. You never know what he's going to say until he really says it. So I went to see him tape his special. He taped it right up the street in Baltimore. Now, you guys are from D.C., so you know about Baltimore. We all know that through the years, D.C. has been through some very, very tough times. Sadly, Baltimore is still in a very tough time. Not everybody in the world really can understand the depth of Baltimore. Baltimore is so desperate that Tupac and his mother moved from Baltimore to Oakland for a better life. And Chris Rock went so hard in the paint, and I can't believe he did this, he shocked a Baltimore crowd. I didn't even know that was possible. I started doing comedy around here. Shocked them. And you know what he said that got him? He looked at the crowd, he walked out. I didn't expect him to say this. He looked at the crowd, it was all black, Baltimore black. Even if you rich and black in Baltimore, you know them niggas is traumatized about something. And Chris shocked him, and this is what he said. He went to that crowd. He said, "I refuse to be a victim." And the crowd said, "Oh." And I was backstage looking like, nigga, watch the tape. I know it's fucked up, but I tell you the truth. You know, everything's funny. Everything's funny till it happens to you. 3 months, a mere 3 months after that terrible attack that Chris Rock endured, I was on stage at the Hollywood Bowl, and a lunatic jumped out of the crowd and attacked me. Now, I gotta tell you, if it happens to you, you don't even know what the fuck is happening. It was like slow motion. I just looked over. I don't know this nigga. And I was looking. I said, "Oh my God, I'm being attacked." And this motherfucker was ragged. He jumped at me. He was like, "Ah!" I'm old, but I'm fast. I caught this motherfucker's head with my hand and pulled his hoodie over his eyes. I can still feel his head in my hand. It was spongy. He had been growing dreadlocks. Not the beautiful dreads that Rastafarians grow. These were accidental LA homeless dreads. This shit had leaves and sticks and bottle caps and shit in it, some kind of grease. I was like, ugh, like this. And then I fell down. And he knocked me all the way on the ground. And I was like, man, this is a bad situation. I don't know if I'm gonna die or what's gonna happen. But in that moment of vulnerability, you know what occurred to me that had never occurred to me before in my life? In that moment, it occurred to me that bodyguards should not wear dress shoes to work. Travis. This nigga Travis came out slipping and sliding on some kind of beautiful loafer and fell flat on his back. Bop. I said, oh my God. Now both of us are down. I gotta handle this shit myself. So I popped right back, boom. And then the kid that knocked me down, he popped out, boom. And we looked at each other and realized, at the same time, I was bigger than him. And that motherfucker took off running. And I started to chase him, and I said, fuck him. I picked the microphone up. So I'm gonna finish this show now. That's right. For 3 months before that, I'd been making fun of Chris Rock. And people would ask me all the time. They'd say, Dave, what would you do if you were Chris Rock and Will Smith slapped you in the face? And to this day, the answer is the same. Well, I don't know what I would have done. I've never been in a situation that extreme. But I do know now what Will Smith would not have done. And that is enjoy the rest of his evening. Man, listen. We gave that kid a good while. We was whooping his ass. Not we, I mean, I was on stage trying to think of a joke to tell, but they was beating this nigga up right behind me. Everybody could see it. Everybody could see it. And I'm sitting up there trying to think of what to say. And I'm tongue-tied. Me, of all people, can't think of anything to say. Look at my karma. Just that moment. Of all the people in the world, Chris Rock walks from backstage, walks up to me in front of 20,000 people, grabs the mic out of my hands and looks at the crowd and goes, was that Will Smith? Man, motherfuckers fell out of their chairs laughing. I was standing there looking stupid. I was fucking furious, because I'm thinking in my mind, nigga, this is my attack. You got attacked 3 months ago. Now you have jokes. So I snatched the mic back from Chris and tried to get one off, but my shit did not go good at all. I didn't know what to say. I was just like, it was a trans man. And the crowd was like, boo. This is LA, we like trans people, boo. I know, I felt so bad. I felt so bad. But I know why I did it. You'd have to be there to understand, but man, when that guy tackled me, it was like it's like a movie or something. You gotta picture this. Picture a famous person you like. Every famous person you could imagine was at that show. It was like the biggest night that Hollywood had ever seen. And when that guy tackled me, he cleared the bleachers. I had to watch the tape afterwards to know this happened, but as soon as he tackled me, Jamie Foxx was the first motherfucker that jumped out of the crowd. He was wearing a white cowboy hat like he knew this shit was gonna happen to him. Never seen this nigga in a cowboy hat before. And Jamie started chasing that motherfucker around like any given Sunday. And that kid was fast as shit, was juking and shaking, and it broke Jamie's ankles, and he just kept running. And then Jon Stewart from The Daily Show ran from backstage and jumped at this motherfucker like Super Jew. He was like, ah! And the kid seen Jon coming, so he jumped back, and Jon went flying that way. And this kid was fast, and then he turned around. He sees the emergency exit. He starts running for the emergency exit. Just before he got to the door, motherfucking Puff Daddy from Bad Boy Records jumped in front of the door. That nigga was like, Boy, Puffy got that motherfucker. And then every celebrity just ran out, because every celebrity saw themselves in me, and they just started beating the fuck out of that kid. And I know Chris was backstage looking like, nobody helped me. Everybody hates Chris.
Most of my friends are from the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder and made it to the middle and the top.
What to do?
So we all had a long trip.
I know you got to get your hustle. So I pray, and I understand the game sometimes, yeah. And I love you strong.
I love coming back. I've been back here many times, but not to celebrate me.
Dave, I love you. We're here for you. Always been here for you because you've always been here for us. And I love you strong, brother.
Richard Pryor was the first recipient of the Twain Prize. When I started SNL, he was the first person I asked to host. In the summer of 2016, with the election looming, there was another person who I was just as determined to have. I knew that for the November 12th show, after the election, it had to be Dave Chappelle.
Thank you.
I knew I needed someone to explain what had just happened. I had to have Dave for the same reason I had to have Richard. He's a truth teller and the funniest person working today. This was going to be a big moment for SNL and for him. I knew when the moment came, Dave would be ready for it.
But America's done it. We've actually elected an internet troll as our president. And the whites were furious. We've never seen anything like it. I haven't seen white people this mad since the OJ verdict. There's a split screen with white people on both sides. Ah! I'm not saying I'm enjoying it. I'm just saying I've never seen this before. I watched a white riot in Portland, Oregon on television the other night.
That Wednesday, the day after the election, we had our read-through for the show. The mood was pretty bleak. The people were feeling tense and very vulnerable. It was a mess. Dave sat down beside me, looked at everyone, and sensed the emotion in the room. He asked if he could read a quote by Toni Morrison. The quote read, "This is precisely the time when artists go to work. There's no time for despair, no place for self-pity, no need for silence, no room for fear. We speak, we write, we do languages. This is how civilizations heal." I knew then that we'd be okay. The show opened with Kate McKinnon singing Hallelujah as Hillary Clinton, and then out walked Dave. I had no idea what he was going to do. I'd like to think he did, but I'm not even sure about that. He was breathtaking. He was brilliant. It was a landmark show.
I'm wishing Donald Trump luck, and I'm going to give him a chance. And we, the historically disenfranchised, demand that he give us one too. Thank you very much.
Your ability to speak your mind, regardless of how anybody feels about it, that fearlessness to entertain the way that you want to, has definitely pierced my life to the point where I played a werewolf choreographer last night. And I was very proud to do it. And I learned all of that from you. You know, I hold your first 2 seasons of the Chappelle Show up against any sketch comedy show, I would say, in history. It's just brilliant.
Good evening and welcome to the first and maybe only racial draft here in New York City.
And I'm excited to see who's going to be drafted by which race. And the blacks have actually won the first pick. Oh my.
Wow, that's the first lottery a black person's won in a long time, Billy.
Yes, and they'll probably still complain.
Man, fuck you.
Back validation. Shoot Tiger Woods.
The richest and most dominant athlete in the world. Now he is officially black. So long, fried rice. Hello, fried chicken. I love you, Dad.
I had no idea you had so many old white fans. But
I feel like I died and went to Brooks Brothers, but
I think honesty gets thrown around a lot. People talk about honesty in comedy, but a lot of great comedians don't always tell the truth. I mean, Rodney Dangerfield, I looked it up, was actually very well respected. He lied the whole time. When we talk about honesty, we talk about not being afraid to tell people the truth about how we feel, because that's the connection that comedians can have with people, and I think nobody does it better than you ever. And that's what we learn from, because we all know that we're a part of the joke. Dave makes it, he's willing to make fun of everybody, whether you're white or gay, end of list.
Everybody loves me, and I love everybody. I got friends who are L's, I got friends who are B's, and I got friends who are G's. But the T's hate my fucking guts. And I don't blame them. It's not their fault, it's mine. I can't stop telling jokes about these things. I don't want to write these jokes, but I just can't stop.
It's weird for me to even talk to you about comedy, because you can tell everybody in this room everything there is to know about comedy, but there's one thing that you'll never know about comedy, and that's doing comedy with a Dave Chappelle to look up to. So I thank you for that. Thank you so much.
Word.
And I'm here to celebrate Mark Twain. To me, that's comedy. If you don't believe me that Mark Twain is hilarious, I would just like to read a brief passage from Huckleberry Finn.
Okay. All right. Tighten up.
Huck Finn turned to his friend Jim, or as we called him, you don't have to read the whole passage.
Are we gonna make love today? As friends.
Oh, you smell delicious. I love him so much. I'm like I'm very emotional person. You know this. I'm gonna cry for you.
I swear to God, I've never seen an art form purer than stand-up comedy. It puzzles me that people are confused if this is an art or not. Man, talking shit is an art. Talking shit is an art. Ain't that right, Mary? All the stand-up comics in the room, just want to remind you, I promise you, and I've always said it, we have the best genre. We don't have to know anything but what we know. And everything we know is valuable because of what we do with it. Stay true to yourself. Fuck the game. The money will come. Most of you won't make it. I'm gonna be honest. I heard an interview with Patton Oswalt, famous comedian, started 1 week apart from me. Pat says,
free health care for all their citizens. So what am I suggesting? Fake Canadian ID cards for all Americans. I'm Dave Chappelle, and I want to represent you.
People always say to me, man, Chappelle Show looked like a blast. Was it fun? It wasn't. It wasn't fun at all. It was hard. We'd have to stay awake for 48 hours at a time just to keep up with the schedule. We were bombed out and depleted. We were lumped up. We both had erectile dysfunction. I told Dave about mine, and he goes, it's because we're using laptops too much, man. And then he goes, plus we're not as young as we used to be. Meanwhile, there's no causal link between laptop use and erectile dysfunction. And also, we were 29. Dave Chappelle completely transformed my life. He lent me $1,000 so I could move to LA. He asked me to write a movie with him when I had zero experience. Dave Chappelle believed in me at a time when absolutely nobody did. You know how we all have a friend who will hit us up out of the blue sometimes for something funny? Imagine what his texts and phone calls are like. One time he called me on a Tuesday afternoon and he goes, hey man, I just finished watching 12 Years a Slave. Anyhow, you think slaves ever whip their kids? On a Tuesday afternoon. In closing, if you remember only one thing from my speech tonight, I hope that it's Chappelle Show was not fun. But it was great, and it will be near impossible to beat, and it's because of that guy right there.
Well, this has been fucking wonderful. I don't know what to say, man. I don't even want this night to end. I promise you, whoever cares the most, I care at least as much as them. I know what I got, because I lost it all. I gotta tell you something, and I don't talk about it often. Have you ever worked all your life for something and have it not work out? That happened to me. It was tough. Think about it. I was gone for 12 years. It's not a little bit of time. It was hell. I watched other niggas that I knew become very famous. I watched the world go on without me. I mourned the loss of it, and after a while, I didn't care. Coming back was terrifying. I understand what I am. I really do, more than anybody. Like when they write about me in history, I'll be dead reading it like, yeah, I knew they'd say that. They say that a person can't dream of a face they've never seen. Can't believe that's true, but it's probably true. Boy, I got a long bank of faces. 32 years, I could close my eyes, I could think of any night. There's so many faces. Every night, most nights, they're all looking up, smiling. You have no idea what the world looks like from there. All different races, all different colors, all different kind of beliefs, just looking at me, smiling for 32 years, night after night. No comedian take that for granted. I swear to God, this might be the noblest of professions. Robin Williams had a bar that I loved. He said, comedy is the only job you can have where you can use everything you know. And that's true. You can use more than you know. You can use what you think. Use it. Don't be afraid. Don't let these bitch-ass niggas button your lip. Say it anyway.
If you're at home watching, not knowing what to make of this because you haven't checked Twitter yet to see how you feel, you can...